You're standing in a marble temple. The year is 400 BC. Soft laughter mixes with the musk of incense as shadows dance on the walls, their movements hinting at secrets too bold for daylight. Welcome to ancient Greece, a cradle of democracy, philosophy, and art, where the gods themselves, Zeus with his earthly conquests, Aphrodite with her seductive wiles, reveled in passion that shaped mortal lives. But beneath the gleaming columns of Athens and the warrior ethos of Sparta lies a darker tale, a world of lustful legends that intertwine power, love, and desire in ways that still shock us today. Were these stories of forbidden rites and sensual excess grounded in reality, or were they myths spun by poets and priests to titillate, control, or condemn? In this journey, we'll uncover the truth behind Greece's most provocative practices, pederasty, temple prostitution, and the poetic passions that echoed through history, diving deep into myths, unearthed artifacts, and the lives of those lost to time. If you're drawn to dark, forgotten tales that challenge the past, hit that like button and subscribe now. Comment below. Where are you watching from? Let's step into this ancient world together. Greece gave us Socrates pondering virtue, the Parthenon rising in majestic splendor, and the Olympic Games celebrating human prowess, but it also harbored secrets that clash with our modern morals. Erotic frescoes adorning the walls of Crete whisper of intimate encounters. Tales of gods seducing mortals fill the scrolls of Homer, and rituals tied to love and fertility hint at a society unafraid to embrace desire. Yet these stories weren't mere romance. They were strategic power plays, forging alliances in politics and fueling the fires of war. We'll explore the sacred band of Thebes, where love between warriors was both a military strength and a scandalous bond, and the Temple of Aphrodite in Corinth, where sex became an act of worship under the goddess's gaze. Archaeologists have unearthed red figure vases from Athens, their painted scenes depicting tender moments between men and youths, while poets like Sappho, her voice trembling with longing on Lesbos, sang of desires that defied societal norms. But how much was real? Historians like Plato debated its morality, while others saw it as a cultural cornerstone. Were these acts celebrated as virtue or condemned as vice? This isn't about cheap titillation. It's about understanding a culture where lust was a tool, a currency, a weapon. If this intrigues you, smash that like button and share your thoughts below. Did love or power drive these legends? The air here is thick with possibility. The scent of olive oil lingers, marble statues gaze down with unblinking eyes, their cold surfaces holding secrets of a lost age. Greece's elite thrived on beauty, sculpting it into their gods and their youths, but that beauty came with a steep price. From the symposium's wine-fueled debates, where philosophers clashed over ideals amid flowing goblets, to the shadowed corners of sacred groves where rituals unfolded under moonlight, desire wove through every layer of society, noble, soldier, and slave alike. Yet, not all embraced it as virtue. Later writers, like Plato's students in the academy, wrestled with its implications, questioning whether such passions elevated or degraded the soul. We'll peel back these layers, starting with a custom that shocked even the Greeks themselves, a practice that defined manhood and sparked centuries of controversy. If you're hooked, subscribe for more and let me know in the comments. What do you expect to find in this ancient tapestry of love and power? The answer awaits, don't miss it. Greece's legacy is a paradox. Freedom in thought flourished, yet bondage in practice shadowed its golden age. The philosophers preached reason with their scrolls, but their society danced with passions that defied their own ideals. As we journey through these lustful legends, expect revelations that blur the lines between myth and reality, challenging what we assume about love and control. The first stop is a practice that shaped Greek manhood, a bond that raised warriors and ignited debate, pederasty, a tradition both revered and reviled. Are you ready to confront this ancient world? Hit that like button if you are, and join me next for a tale that will challenge everything you thought you knew about Greek love. This is just the beginning, stay tuned. Imagine you're a young Athenian, the year is 450 BC. Your father leads you to a gymnasium where an older man smiles with intent, his eyes tracing your form as the scent of olive oil and sweat fills the air. This is the world of pederasty, a custom where older men, called erasts, mentored youths known as ereminos, typically aged 12 to 18, blending education with erotic bonds that defined Greek manhood. It wasn't just love, it was a cornerstone of society, shaping warriors, philosophers, and leaders in a culture that revered beauty and strength above all. But was this revered practice a noble tradition, a sacred bond forged in wisdom, or a hidden exploitation that preyed on the vulnerable in a world where power ruled? Let's dive into the evidence and uncover the truth behind these lustful bonds that stirred both pride and controversy across the ancient world. Pederasty, derived from the Greek paiderastia, love of boys, emerged as a formalized relationship in cities like Athens, Thebes, and Crete, deeply embedded in the social fabric. Historian Xenophon, in his Symposium, portrays it as a mentorship where the erasts imparted virtues like courage and wisdom, often through gifts, wine, hairs, or verses of poetry, and physical closeness that symbolized trust. Archaeological treasures, such as red figure vases housed in the British Museum, depict bearded men offering these tokens to smooth-faced youths, their poses suggesting tenderness amid the dust of training grounds. This wasn't a fleeting affair, it was a rite of passage, with the Eromenos gaining status and a future through his mentor's favor, a bond celebrated in art and song. Yet, the line between guidance and desire blurred. Plato, in his Symposium, exalts the ideal of spiritual love transcending the physical, but other accounts, like those from lesser-known scribes, hint at demands that tested consent in a society where youths had little voice. If this shocks you, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. Was this a mentorship rooted in honor or a manipulation masked as tradition? The emotional weight of this practice hits hard. Imagine being that youth, torn from the innocence of childhood, your body and future bartered for a mentor's prestige in a world that saw you as both prize and pupil. In Sparta, pederasty was a military tool, pairing young warriors with older mentors to forge unbreakable bonds, their love a shield in battle. The Sacred Band of Thebes, a unit of 150 elite soldiers united by such relationships, stood as proof of its power, holding off the Macedonian army under Philip II until their fall in 338 BCE, a testament to love's might. But not all voices sang praise. Comedian Aristophanes, in his Clouds, skewers the custom with biting satire, portraying lecherous old men preying on boys, a jest that stung the elite and hinted at darker truths. The tension grew as Greece's rivals, like the Romans who later conquered them, condemned pederasty, shaping our modern view of it as scandalous. This duality, honor in the eyes of some, exploitation in others, fuels a debate that echoes through time. If you're intrigued by this paradox, subscribe now and comment. What do you think drove this ancient practice, love or power? These bonds weren't uniform across Greece. Athens idealized restraint, with philosophers debating the soul's purity, while Crete embraced a bolder approach, its rituals including abduction-like ceremonies where youths were taken to remote lands, returned with garlands as symbols of their new status. Vases from these regions show crowned youths, their expressions a mix of pride and unease, yet the power imbalance lingered like a shadow. The erasts gained social clout, their names etched in history, while the Eromenos secured a future. Some thrived, like Alcibiades, the charismatic general who leveraged his beauty into political sway, charming allies and enemies alike. But others faded into obscurity, their stories swallowed by time, their sacrifices unnoted. This practice shaped Greek identity, influencing philosophy. Plato, in his Laws, questions its morality, advocating restraint, yet its legacy remains a mirror of power's complexities. The truth teeters between celebration and critique, a legend that both elevated and enslaved. Are you ready for more? Smash that like button if you are, and join me next for a tale of divine desire that will deepen this mystery. Stay tuned. Imagine you're in Corinth, the year is 500 BC, the air hums with the haunting melody of flutes as you approach the temple of Aphrodite, where figures in flowing silk robes move with a rhythm that stirs the soul, their shadows stretching long across the marble floor. This is the realm of divine desire, where sex transformed into an act of worship, a sacred duty offered to the goddess of love and beauty. Temple prostitution, a practice tied to fertility, devotion, and the cycles of nature, shocked outsiders and fueled Greece's lustful legends, yet it was revered by many as a holy rite connecting mortals to the divine. Was this a celebration of the feminine spirit, a tribute to Aphrodite's power, or a veiled exploitation masked as piety in a society ruled by men? Let's uncover the truth behind these rituals that blended ecstasy with power, shaping the ancient Greek world in ways both profound and troubling. The Temple of Aphrodite in Corinth stood as a beacon atop its Acropolis, its priestesses, known as hierodules, dedicated to the goddess, their bodies offered to strangers in a ritual believed to honor her divine essence. Historian Strabo, writing in the 1st century BCE, claims 1,000 women served here, their earnings funding the temple's opulent columns and golden statues, a testament to its wealth. These weren't common prostitutes. They were sacred figures, often slaves or captives taken in war, trained in music, dance, and the arts of seduction, their service a blend of devotion and obligation that echoed through the night. Votive offerings, like terracotta figurines of women in suggestive yet modest poses, unearthed near the site, suggest a culture that saw this as a spiritual act, not a sin against the gods. Yet, the reality was far more complex. Many hierodoles had no choice, their lives shaped by the priests and merchants who controlled the temples, their voices drowned by the clinking of coins and the chants of worshippers. The emotional weight is staggering. Imagine being a young woman torn from your family, draped in silk, expected to please strangers under the guise of divinity, your identity erased for a higher cause. If this intrigues you, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. Was this a sacred calling or a cruel facade? This practice wasn't confined to Corinth. Other cities, like Eryx in Sicily, mirrored its rites, with Herodotus noting Phoenician influences where sacred prostitution honored Astarte, blending Greek and foreign traditions. The hierodoles ranged from willing devotees, some gaining status through their beauty and charm, to forced servants whose sacrifices went unrecorded, their stories lost amid the marble and myth. Greek playwrights, like Aristophanes and Lysistrata, mocked these temples with biting humor, hinting at excess and moral decay, while poets like Pindar wove Aphrodite into victory odes, praising her as the muse of triumph. This duality, sacred reverence in one breath, scandalous excess in another, reflects a society torn between adoring the goddess and judging her servants. The tension grew as these rituals funded city treasuries, with sailors and traders flocking to Corinth, their coins turning devotion into a bustling trade that blurred the lines between faith and commerce. If you're shocked by this paradox, subscribe now and comment. What do you think motivated these women, faith or force? The temples weren't just spiritual hubs, they were economic powerhouses, their wealth rivaling that of city-states, with Strabo describing a constant flow of visitors eager to partake in the goddess's favor. The hierodoles faced a spectrum of experiences. Some leveraged their roles for influence, their names whispered in elite circles, while others endured silently, their lives a shadow behind the temple's glory. Philosophers like Plato in his Republic criticized such practices, calling them distractions from the pursuit of virtue, arguing they corrupted the soul with earthly pleasures. Yet others, including lesser-known priests, defended them as natural expressions of love's divine force, a bridge to the gods. The debate intensified as Greece faced external scrutiny. Later Roman writers, like Juvenal in his satires, condemned these rites as barbaric, shaping a legacy of taboo that persists. Still, the allure of divine desire endured, a legend that both elevated the spirit and enslaved the body, its echoes resonating through time. Are you ready for more? Smash that like button if you are, and join me next for a poet's passion that will deepen this mystery. Stay tuned. Imagine you're on the island of Lesbos. The year is 600 BCE. The sea breeze carries the faint, haunting strum of a lyre as you hear a woman's voice rise, her words weaving a spell of longing that trembles in the salty air, the scent of wild thyme drifting through. This is the world of Sappho, a poet whose verses of love between women ignited Greece's lustful legends, her name a whispered echo of passion that defied the rigid norms of her time. Unlike the temples of Corinth or the gymnasiums of Athens, her art offered a different desire, one of the heart, expressed in poetry that still resonates with raw emotion today. Was Sappho a revolutionary celebrating love's boundless freedom, or a figure whose work was twisted into scandal by a judgmental world that feared her power? Let's explore the passion behind her words, the community she fostered, and the enduring legacy they left in ancient Greece. Sappho, born around 630 BCE, led a circle of women on Lesbos, a thriving hub of music and poetry where she taught her craft, her fragments preserved on fragile papyrus scraps unearthed in Egypt centuries later. Her poem Fragment 31, with lines like, "My tongue is broken, a thin flame runs under my skin, my eyes are darkened," captures a desire so intense it mirrors divine ecstasy directed toward women, possibly Athis or Anactoria, named in her surviving works. These weren't just verses, they were anthems of love between women, a rarity in a male-dominated society where such bonds were seldom recorded or celebrated. Scholars like Carson argue her poetry was ritualistic, tied to marriage preparations or goddess worship, a sacred expression of female connection, yet others see it as deeply personal, a bold celebration of same-sex love that challenged the status quo. Her island became a haven for this art, but her reputation grew divisive. Later Greeks coined lesbian from Lesbos, a term that carried both pride and stigma, reflecting a culture torn by her influence. If this moves you, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. Was her love a triumph of the heart or a target for society's scorn? The emotional pull is undeniable. Imagine being Sappho, your voice the only shield against a world that might exile you for your words, your poems a cry for love in a society that prized male bonds over all else. Her work suggests deep, intimate connections with women in her circle, their relationships a blend of mentorship and romance that flourished amid the olive groves and Aegean waves. Yet, evidence is scarce. Only 2 complete poems survive, the rest in tantalizing shards, leaving us to piece together her life. Comedy playwrights like Menander mocked her, dubbing her a lustful woman in his plays, a jab that stung, while Plato, in a rare tribute, called her the 10th muse, elevating her to a divine status among poets. This split, admiration from some, scorn from others, mirrors a culture wrestling with her art's implications. Her exile from Lesbos, possibly due to political strife or social backlash, adding layers of mystery. The tension grew as her legacy was both preserved and buried, her voice a beacon that some sought to silence. If you're intrigued by this duality, subscribe now and comment. What do you think her poems reveal about ancient love? Sappho's influence stretched far beyond Lesbos. Her poetry inspired later writers like Catullus, who echoed her style in Latin verse, and her themes shaped the Greek lyric tradition, a ripple effect felt across the Mediterranean. Archaeologists have found inscribed stones on Lesbos, hinting at a vibrant female community where her circle thrived, yet the male elite often erased such voices from official records, their power threatened by her words. Some scholars suggest her gatherings were a safe haven for women's expression, others a commercial venture where poetry lured admirers, her art a delicate balance of beauty and business. The truth teeters. Her love was real, its context debated, with philosophers like Aristotle overlooking her in favor of male intellect, while her exile adds a poignant note of struggle. Her passion, whether sacred ritual or scandalous confession, challenged gender norms, a legend that endured despite efforts to suppress it. The sea still whispers her name, the time-scented breeze carries her verses, a testament to a love that defied time and convention. Are you ready for more? Smash that like button if you are, and join me next for a warrior's love that will deepen this saga. Stay tuned. Imagine you're on the battlefield of Kyrenia. The year is 338 BC. The clash of bronze shields fills the air, the metallic tang of blood mingling with dust, as you see pairs of Theban warriors fight as one, their bond forged in love rather than just steel. This is the story of the sacred band of Thebes, 150 elite soldiers united by romantic ties, a military force where love between men was both a weapon and a legend that echoed through Greece's history. Unlike the poems of Sappho or the rites of Corinth's temples, this was a love tested by blood and valor, celebrated as a source of unbreakable courage in the face of death. But was this bond a triumph of devotion, a testament to human connection, or a calculated strategy that masked vulnerability in the chaos of war? Let's delve into the warrior's love that shaped Greece's destiny and sparked both awe and bitter debate. The sacred band, formed around 378 BCE under Theban general Gorgidas, was no ordinary unit. Each pair consisted of a lover and his beloved, their relationship a fusion of military training and deep affection that bound them tighter than any chain. Historian Plutarch, in his Lives, describes how this bond made them fearless, fighting side by side with a ferocity unmatched, each man believing he'd rather die than shame his partner in the heat of battle. Their strength shone at the Battle of Leuctra in 371 BCE, where they helped topple Sparta's dominance, a victory that reverberated across the Greek world, proving love's power on the field. Archaeological evidence from the mass grave at Kyrenia reveals their final stand, skeletons found in pairs, arms entwined even in death, a silent testament to their unyielding loyalty. Yet this wasn't universal praise. Some Greek leaders saw it as a weakness, a distraction from duty, a sentiment that grew as Macedonia's Philip II crushed them with his phalanx, ending their reign. If this moves you, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. Was their love a source of strength or a fatal flaw? The emotional stakes are crushing. Imagine being one of those warriors, your life tethered to your lovers, every sword thrust a test of your shared resolve, the roar of combat drowning out your heartbeat. These men weren't just soldiers. They were partners, their training in the gymnasium evolving into a lifelong commitment, their love a shield against the terror of war. Plutarch notes their selection was meticulous, choosing only the bravest and most beautiful, a blend of physical prowess and emotional depth that set them apart from other units. But not all shared this admiration. Comedies like Aristophanes' Acharnians hint at mockery, portraying such bonds as indulgent or perverse, while later philosophers, influenced by rising moral shifts, questioned their ethics in the face of duty. The tension peaked at Kyrenia, where Philip, moved by their loyalty even in defeat, ordered a lion monument over their grave, yet his victory marked the end of their legend, a bittersweet tribute to their sacrifice. Their story is one of heroism intertwined with heartbreak. If you're intrigued by this paradox, subscribe now and comment. What do you think fueled their courage, love, or honor? This warrior love wasn't unique to Thebes. Sparta's Agoge system paired youths with older mentors, though with less romantic intent, focusing on discipline, while Athens debated its merits in symposia over wine and olives. The sacred band's fame grew from their unity, their pairs forming a phalanx where each man's life depended on the other's skill, their love a tactical edge that baffled enemies. Excavations at Kyrenia uncovered weapons and armor buried with them, suggesting a ritual honor paid by their foes, yet the cost was staggering, 150 lives lost in a single day, their bodies a monument to their cause. Some historians, like Xenophon in his Hellenica, admired their discipline and cohesion, while others viewed it as a cultural oddity, a practice fading as Greece's power waned under foreign rule. The lion monument, standing today, symbolizes love's endurance, but also its fragility in a world of shifting alliances. Their tale blends valor with vulnerability, a legend that inspired future warriors and divided moralists. Are you ready for more? Smash that like button if you are, and join me next for a society's judgment that will deepen this saga. Stay tuned. Imagine you're in the Athenian Agora, the year is 350 BCE. The hum of voices rises as philosophers debate under the sun, their words sharp with disapproval, the scent of olive oil and dust thick in the air. This is the moment when Greek society turned its gaze on the lustful legends we've explored, pederasty, temple prostitution, warrior love, and poetic passions, judging them through laws and moral codes that sought to tame desire. What began as cultural norms faced scrutiny, with philosophers, lawmakers, and outsiders reshaping these practices into symbols of vice. Were these judgments a defense of virtue, a reflection of shifting power, or a hypocrisy that masked elite indulgence? Let's uncover how Greece's society grappled with its own passions, a turning point that echoes in our moral debates today. The shift began with philosophers like Plato, whose laws, written around 360 BCE, critiqued pederasty, urging restraint over physical love, arguing it distracted from the pursuit of wisdom. His earlier symposium had praised spiritual bonds, but now he called for regulation, reflecting a growing unease among the elite. Laws followed. Athens introduced measures limiting the age of Eromenoi to protect youths, though enforcement was lax, favoring the powerful. Historian Aeschines, in his speech against Timarchus, condemned men who sold their bodies, linking pederasty to corruption, a stance that targeted the poor while sparing the rich. Temple prostitution faced similar scrutiny. Corinth's rites, once sacred, were mocked by playwrights like Aristophanes, who saw excess in the hierodul's service, pushing for their decline as Greece faced foreign influence. If this intrigues you, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. Did laws protect or punish? The emotional toll is heavy. Imagine being a young man or priestess, your life's choices judged by those who once celebrated them, your identity stripped by new moral standards. The sacred band's defeat at Kyrenia in 338 BC intensified this shift. Philip II's victory over their love-bound warriors fueled arguments that such bonds weakened discipline, a view echoed by later Greek thinkers. Women, like Sappho's followers, faced erasure. Her poetry, once admired, was sidelined as indecent by male scholars, her legacy diminished. The tension grew as trade with Persia and Rome brought foreign morals, with Xenophon noting Spartan reforms to curb mentor-youth relationships, signaling a cultural pivot. This wasn't just judgment, it was a redefinition where desire became a target for control. If you're shocked, subscribe now and comment. What do you think drove this change, virtue or politics? Society's response wasn't uniform. Rural areas clung to old ways, while cities like Athens embraced reform, passing laws that fined public displays of affection between men, though private acts persisted. The Lex Scantinia, a later Roman influence, built on Greek precedents, penalizing same-sex relations, showing how judgment crossed borders. Temples lost ground as philosophers like Aristotle, in Nicomachean Ethics, prioritized reason over passion, influencing legal codes that restricted sacred prostitution. Yet, hypocrisy lingered. Elite men still indulged, their symposia filled with wine and youths, while condemning the lower classes. Archaeological evidence, like faded inscriptions on pottery, hints at resistance, with lovers defiantly marking their bonds. This duality, public censure, private practice, shaped a legacy of shame and secrecy, a judgment that both protected and persecuted. Are you ready for more? Smash that like button if you are, and join me next for a reflection that ties these legends to our world. Stay tuned. Imagine you're standing in Athens today, the year is 2025, the Parthenon looms above, its weathered marble whispering tales of a past where love and power danced in shadows, the faint hum of modern traffic blending with ancient echoes. We've journeyed through ancient Greece's lustful legends, pederasty shaping warriors in gymnasiums, temple prostitution honoring Aphrodite in Corinth, the sacred band's battlefield bonds at Kyrenia, Sappho's poetic passions on Lesbos, and society's harsh judgments in the Agora. These weren't just tales of excess, they were reflections of a culture grappling with desire, control, and identity, a struggle that still pulses through our world. Did Greece's openness to love define its golden age, or did it sow the seeds of its eventual fall under foreign rule? Let's reflect on the legacy of these practices and how they mirror our modern debates on love, power, and morality in ways that challenge us today. The legacy begins with their decline. Greece's power waned by 146 BCE under Roman conquest, yet its customs lingered, adapted, and judged across centuries. Pederasty faded as Rome imposed stricter moral codes, though its echoes survive in Renaissance art, like Michelangelo's male sketches inspired by Greek ideals of beauty and strength. Temple prostitution vanished with the rise of Christianity, its sacred rites condemned as pagan decadence. But the concept of sacred sexuality persists in modern spiritual movements seeking divine connection. The sacred band's love, once a military marvel, influenced romanticized views of camaraderie, seen in today's military odes of loyalty, while Sappho's words found new life in feminist and LGBTQ+ circles, her fragments a beacon for love's diversity across genders. Historians like Sarah Pomeroy argue these practices shaped Western notions of aesthetics and desire, yet their dark underbelly, slaves in temples, youths and mentorships, serves as a stark warning of power's exploitative edge. If this resonates with you, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. What echoes of these legends do you see in today's world? The emotional weight is profound. Imagine the voices silenced, the slaves and youths whose lives fueled these legends, their sacrifices erased by time's relentless march. Greece's openness to desire offered moments of freedom, as in Sappho's verses trembling with longing, but also deep oppression, as in the hierodul's forced service under temple roofs. This duality shapes our present. Today we debate consent in relationships, the ethics of power dynamics in mentorships, and the rights of love across all identities, echoes of Greece's ancient struggles. Modern laws, like those protecting same-sex marriage since 2001 in the Netherlands, trace roots to these questions of acceptance, while exploitation scandals in entertainment or labor mirror the temple trade's inequities. The tension between liberation and control persists, a legacy that forces us to reflect on our own society's values. If you're moved by this connection, subscribe now and comment. What modern issue ties most closely to these tales? Greece's fall wasn't solely due to its passions. Economic strain, political fragmentation, and the rise of Rome sealed its fate by the 2nd century BCE, but the myths of decadence linger, a cautionary tale of excess that shaped its narrative. Today, films like 300 glorify Spartan discipline, often ignoring its mentor-youth bonds, while Sappho's love inspires contemporary poetry and art, her exile a symbol of resilience against suppression. The Parthenon stands as a silent witness. Its beauty and power coexist with the human cost of those who built it and lived its legends. Our society wrestles with similar tensions. How do we balance personal freedom with societal order, judge past cultures with fairness rather than scorn? The lustful legends teach that power, when unchecked, turns love into pain, a lesson etched in marble ruins and the blood of the fallen. Their story isn't just history, it's a mirror reflecting our own struggles with desire and control. Are you ready to explore more forgotten pasts? Smash that like button if you are, and join our community, share your thoughts below and subscribe for future journeys into history's shadows. Until next time, keep questioning the past, it holds the key to understanding our present.